Hello, welcome to another video. Please like, share and subscribe for more amazing story. True God in Another Worlds, Tensura x Tbate, by Tempest_King_20. Chapter 35 Deal, 6 months later, Rimuru Pav, move. I shouted, my voice echoing through the icy tunnels, as we made our way deeper into the Arctic abyss. The dungeon was a labyrinth of frozen tunnels and caves, with slippery walls and floors that made every step treacherous. The air was so cold that it seemed to seep into our bones, and the occasional rush of wind that whipped through the narrow passageways made us shiver even more. The walls were covered in cascading ice crystals that sparkled in the dim light, and the ground was made of an icy sheet that cracked with every movement we made. We had been traveling for hours, battling through snow snakes, frost bears, and now frost wolves, each battle more grueling than the last. These creatures were well adapted to the icy environment, making them formidable opponents even for experienced adventurers like us. The frost wolves we faced were B-class mana beasts. Their fur glistened like fresh snow, and their teeth glinted as they snarled and growled at us, ready to pounce. I could feel their cold breath on my face as they lunged at us, their claws scraping against the ice floor. Get ready. More beasts are coming, Jasmine breathed, panting as she shot a wind blade at another wolf, cutting the beast and causing it to collapse on the ground. Art swung his sword, slicing through a wolf that lunged at him from behind. With a swift motion, I lunged forward and sliced the wolf in half. The sound of our footsteps beats throughout the cavern, mixing with the roars and snarls of the beasts we fight. Are you guys okay? I asked, sensing Art and Jasmine's exhaustion. Fine. We can still go on, Art said, his breath ragged. I have enough mana to keep going, Jasmine added, panting heavily. Good. Because I have a feeling this is only the beginning, I said, sensing that there was more danger lurking around each icy turn. Art and Jasmine turned to face the remaining mana beasts, and I knew I had to act quickly. I raised my hands to the sky, and a powerful gust of wind swept across the battlefield, knocking the mana beasts off their feet. As they struggled to regain their footing, I charged towards them, my katana flashing in the dim light of the dungeon. With each swing of my sword, I cut down the frost wolves one by one. Art and Jasmine followed behind, their own weapons flashing in the dim light of the dungeon. Art hacked and slashed his way through the beasts, his sword cleaving through bone and flesh with a satisfying crunch. Jasmine darted about gracefully, her dagger cutting through the air like razors and dispatching the wolves with deadly efficiency. Breathless and exhausted, Art and Jasmine collapsed to the ground, gasping for air. Are you tired already? I said with a wry smile, putting my katana back in its sheath. Can you blame us? Art said, still gasping for air. We've been fighting for hours. All right. Let's rest for a while, I said as Art and Jasmine nodded in agreement. We replenished our cores and restored our mana as we sat huddled together in a small alcove off to one side of the tunnel. When our core was completely replenished, we decided to move on once again. When we arrived at the boss room, our footsteps echoed loudly in the cavernous space. The door before us was massive, intricately carved with elaborate ice designs that gleamed even in the dim light. Taking a deep breath, I stepped forward, my hand trembling slightly as I reached out to grasp the icy cold handle. With a slow, deliberate push, the door creaked open, revealing a sight that took my breath away. The room was enveloped in darkness, save for the ethereal glow emanating from the ice formations that adorned the walls and ceiling. Stalagmites and stalactites of ice jutted out in every direction, creating an otherworldly landscape that seemed to shimmer and dance with a soft, blue light. As we cautiously entered, the air seemed to thicken, suffused with an oppressive stillness that sent shivers down my spine. The scent of death hung heavy in the icy air, mingled with an unmistakable tang of danger. My heart pounded in my chest, a mixture of exhilaration and excitement coursing through my veins. This was it. The final battle against the boss of the Arctic abyss. Straining my senses, I could almost feel eyes upon us, watching our every move. Goosebumps prickled along my skin as I stood there. Adrenaline surged through me as I spoke, my voice a low but commanding presence amidst the silence. Stay on high alert. Something is definitely off here, I warned, my eyes darting from one corner of the room to another, searching for any sign of movement that could reveal our concealed enemy. As the seconds ticked by, the silence in the room was broken by a sudden burst of intense illumination. The room, once shrouded in darkness, was now bathed in an incandescent glow that emanated from a blinding flash of radiant light. Blinking away the afterimage, my eyes widened in astonishment as the full expanse of the room came into view. In the center, on a grand throne sculpted entirely from ice, sat the boss, the Ice Queen herself. Her presence was akin to an ethereal force, evoking both reverence and terror in equal measure. Long strands of snow-white hair fell in cascading waves down her shoulders, framing a face that was a confluence of captivating allure and menacing power. Her piercing blue eyes, fierce and unyielding, seemed to hold within them an unfathomable depth. Surrounding her with unwavering loyalty, silent guards of towering ice golems stood sentinel, their hulking figures a testament to the formidable power she wielded. Coiled at her feet, snow snakes slithered in viperous menace, poised and ready to strike upon her command. The sheer sight of it all sent a chilling shiver cascading down the spines of the bravest warriors. Jasmine, unable to contain her fear and astonishment, gasped audibly. Her face drained of color, a mix of recognition and terror painted across her features. "We must find a way to escape, now," she urgently pleaded, her voice trembling with fear and desperation. "I'm afraid we can't," I said as I saw the Ice Queen stand up from her throne and prepare to attack. "Take care of her followers, and I will fight the Queen," I declared, my voice resonating with determination. Jasmine's concern and desperation mingled together, forming a potent mix that colored her voice. "Don't be foolish, she's an S-class beast," she protested. Acknowledging the gravity of her words, I assured her, my voice tinged with quiet determination. "I am aware of the peril she poses, but we have no alternative. We must face her head-on," I replied resolutely, unsheathing my katana and cradling its hilt with reassuring familiarity. In that fleeting moment, as time seemed to momentarily pause, a profound understanding flickered in the depths of Art's, Jasmine's, and my eyes. Without a single word being uttered, an unspoken agreement forged itself, a pact woven together amidst the chaos that unfurled around us. With a final look of concern etched on her face, Jasmine muttered, her voice barely a whisper, "Be careful," before she swiftly joined Art in their wild charge towards the imposing ice golems and venomous snow serpents, their weapons glinting ominously in the pale light. Meanwhile, I directed all my focus, all my intent, solely upon the Ice Queen herself. Drawing in a deep, steadying breath, I braced myself for the imminent battle that lay ahead, my heartbeat echoing in my ears, a relentless cadence in sync with the flurry of snowflakes swirling around us. Every fiber of my being acknowledged the immense difficulty of this confrontation, the magnitude of the opponent we faced. The Ice Queen possessed a terrifying power, her ability to summon blizzards with a mere thought, to cast freezing spells with effortless grace. And yet, there was something peculiar, something elusive about her core that danced on the precipice of my understanding. Nevertheless, I steeled myself, my determination growing stronger with each heartbeat, for I knew that I had to unleash my fullest potential in this battle. With a swift flick of her elegant wrist, the Ice Queen hurled a ferocious blast of ice towards me, a crystalline projectile sailing through the air with deadly intent. Reacting with reflexes honed through countless battles, I moved with a dancer's grace, evading the attack by a mere hair's breadth. In retaliation, a torrent of fiery arrows materialized from my fingertips, each arrow imbued with the fervor of my spirit. Yet, to my astonishment, the Ice Queen effortlessly deflected them with a mere wave of her hand, her control over the ice element unparalleled. "It won't be so easy, ha," I scoffed, a smile tugging at the corners of my lips, a cascade of triumphant warmth coursing through my veins. With agility honed by years of training, I leapt agilely from the jagged ice spikes the Queen conjured beneath me. Closing the distance between us in a mere heartbeat, I charged towards her, my katana glinting with the piercing determination of 1,000 suns. In response to my unwavering assault, she formed a sword of pure ice, a weapon as ethereal and deadly as her presence. As our swords collided with a resounding clash, sending shockwaves of frigid air quivering through the room, I glimpsed a flicker of astonishment in the depths of the Ice Queen's eyes. I pushed back against her assault, my movements fluid yet resolute. In that exhilarating clash of titans, I could almost taste the thrill of victory, a heady mixture of anticipation and adrenaline. In a desperate attempt to halt my inexorable advance, she summoned spikes of ice to erupt from the ground behind me. Yet, with swift mastery, I conjuring a protective barrier of roaring flames. The searing heat melted the icy spikes, crafting a shield of fire that enveloped me in an impenetrable fortress. A guttural growl reverberated from the Ice Queen, her fury evident as she conjured a multitude of deadly ice weapons, aiming to overwhelm me with sheer force. But my movements were nimble and calculated, my agility surpassing even that of the Ice Queen herself. With each graceful dodge and parry, I deftly maneuvered around her onslaught, my katana slashing through the air like a scorching blade through butter. Amidst the electrifying clash of blades, I caught glimpses of Art and Jasmine. They battled the ice golems and snow snakes. The adrenaline pumping through my veins intensified, and I knew that my assistance would soon be required to turn the tides in our favor. TCH, I made a noise of frustration, a nagging feeling persisting in the depths of my intuition. Sylvie, can you come here now? I telepathically sent to my daughter, anticipating that her assistance would prove invaluable in the coming moments. Yes, Papa. I will be there soon, she replied, her voice carrying a mixture of urgency and determination. I could sense Sylvie getting closer, but she was still a few dozen kilometers away. The battle with the Ice Queen intensified, the very atmosphere trembling with the raw power we unleashed. I felt a surge of power emanating from her, as if she were harnessing the energy of the surrounding ice and snow, growing stronger with each passing moment. But I refused to be intimidated, refusing to let the weight of her power overshadow my own. Realizing that prolonging the fight would be unwise, I resolved to end it swiftly. Calling upon the forces of Thunderclap Impulse, I hurtled my sword towards her, aiming for her right shoulder. However, her uncanny speed allowed her to evade the strike, narrowly avoiding my attack. In response, she conjured a plethora of ice spears, aiming to impale me. I watched in awe as the ice spears hurtled towards me, their sharp points glinting menacingly in the dim torchlight. In that moment, I acknowledged the extent of her abilities, realizing that I had underestimated her from the beginning. Focused and undeterred, I channeled my energy, directing it into my katana. As I charged towards the Ice Queen, I swung my blade in a sweeping arc, the resulting gust of wind obliterating the conjured ice spears in its wake. Taken aback momentarily by the sheer force of my assault, the Ice Queen faltered, providing me with the opportunity to close the distance between us. Seizing the moment, I thrust my blade forwards, aiming for her chest. Yet, she proved too nimble, sidestepping my attack and retaliating with a swift slash across my arm, the chilling touch of her icy blade causing a pang of pain to ripple through my being. I gritted my teeth, wincing from the icy ache that spread through my limb. The Ice Queen's grin of victory quickly faded, however, when my figure vanished before her very eyes, proving to be nothing more than a mere illusion. Aware that she would attempt to counter my next move, I hastily employed gravity magic, pinning her forcefully to the ground. As I swung my katana, poised to cut her in half, an unexpected storm of ice hurtled towards me. Rimuru! Jasmine screamed in alarm and panic. My reflexes kicked in as I scattered away from the direction of the menacing force. My attention was immediately drawn to the source of the attack, and I saw the ice wyvern in all its terrifying glory. Its scales were a piercing shade of blue as they shone in the flickering torchlight, and its talons were razor-sharp as they glinted eerily. I could hear the powerful flaps of its wings as they created a gust that shoved us off balance, making us stumble backward. "Are you kidding?" Art muttered in disbelief at the situation we had found ourselves in. Facing an S-rank beast was already rare enough, but now with the sudden appearance of another one in the same dungeon, it was almost impossible. But before anyone could move, a strong voice rang out from the ceiling, causing us all to glance upwards in surprise. A small black dragon burst through the ceiling, landing in front of me protectively. Her scales glimmered like diamonds under torchlight as she looked up at me with fierce determination in her eyes. "You came just in time, Sylvie," I breathed a sigh of relief. I had been worried about taking on the two beasts alone, but with Sylvie on our side, we have a chance. Sylvie grinned, her eyes sparkling with fierce determination. "I'm here, Papa," she said, revealing how much she had grown from the time I had last seen her. With her training with Seal and Sylvia, she had become bigger and stronger. Currently, she goes with Sylvia, who becoming an adventurer 3 months ago, to the best glades. "Take care of the wyvern for a while I finish the queen here," I instructed Sylvie, and she nodded, her wings flexing as she launched herself towards the ice wyvern. The beast roared in anger, ready to strike back at the small black dragon, but Sylvie was too quick, evading its attacks with grace and ease. Meanwhile, I focused my attention on the Ice Queen, who was eyeing me warily. "Rimuru, we will help you," Art said as he approached me. No, you go and help Sylvie, I said firmly. Jasmine and I will fight the queen. Art nodded obediently and left our side without hesitation to join Sylvie's battle against the wyvern. The wyvern was weaker than the queen. Hence they could take care of it until I destroyed the queen. I know this is definitely not the opportune moment to bring this up, but I can't help but wonder, what exactly is Sylvie? Jasmine questioned urgently, deftly sidestepping a torrent of menacing spears hurtling towards her. I glanced at Sylvie, unyielding in my response. She's a dragon. A flicker of disbelief danced across Jasmine's features as she glanced at Sylvie in astonishment. Don't lose focus, I cautioned, the urgency dripping from my words as we continued our arduous battle against the Ice Queen. It became increasingly clear that the Ice Queen was preparing to unleash her full might upon us. Sensing the gravity of the situation, I made a resolute decision. It seems she is ready to unleash her power. Jasmine. I will engage her in close combat. Cover me. My voice carried an unwavering determination as I charged forward, propelled by the impetus of a thunderclap impulse. As I swiftly closed the distance, a barrage of icy projectiles was summoned in my direction. Yet, before they could reach their mark, Jasmine's adeptness with sound magic intervened, shattering the projectiles with effortless ease. Seizing this advantageous distraction, I swung my sword in a seamless arc, conjuring a scorching wave of fire that engulfed the Ice Queen. Her cries of anguish reverberated throughout the dungeon, serving as a testament to the effectiveness of my attack. Without granting the Ice Queen a moment's respite, I pressed on with my offensive onslaught. In a swift motion, I unleashed my sword once more, summoning a potent lightning strike that echoed through the dungeon, vibrating its very foundations. The Ice Queen toppled to the ground, defeated and powerless. Jasmine and I released a breath we didn't realize we were holding, relief washing over us. Redirecting my attention to Sylvie and Art, locked in their fierce battle against the formidable wyvern, Jasmine stood next to me after acquiring the Ice Queen's core and bestowed it upon me. Her concern permeated her voice as she queried, shouldn't we lend them aid? No, let us bide our time for a moment. I am curious to witness the extent of their capabilities, I replied pensively, my eyes fixated on the enigmatic core I now possessed. Although it appeared different from its expected form, a knowing smirk curled upon my lips, delving into the reasons for such an anomaly. With unwavering focus, I fixed my gaze on Sylvie and Art as they engaged in a fierce battle against the towering ice wyvern. Sylvie's nimble movements allowed her to dodge the wyvern's deadly strikes with ease, while simultaneously delivering a barrage of slashing claws and crushing teeth. Art, on the other hand, skillfully wielded his magic, expertly diverting the wyvern's attention and rendering its attacks increasingly futile. The ice wyvern was a formidable opponent, just a tad weaker than Avier, and I couldn't help but feel a sense of pride for my brother and daughter's skill. However, my admiration was short-lived as Art's voice interrupted my thoughts. Can you help us here instead of just watching? He said with an annoyed tone. Hi. I stood up from my position, brushed off the dirt from my clothes, and made my way towards them. The wyvern shifted its attention to me, sensing my presence. Sylvie and Art's movements became more coordinated as we stood together, ready for the final showdown. I drew my katana, feeling its weight in my hand as I prepared to face the formidable foe. The wyvern lunged towards me, but I gracefully sidestepped its attack and thrust my katana towards its exposed skin. The blade found its mark, and the wyvern let out a deafening roar of pain. The creature retaliated with a series of powerful claws and icy breaths that sent chills down my spine. I evaded its attacks with lightning-fast reflexes, somersaulting to the side and conjuring blasts of lightning that crackled through the air. The wyvern recoiled from the attack but quickly regained its footing. Its next move was a torrent of icy breath that filled the air with a deafening roar, but I wasn't going to let it have its way. I summoned a swirling vortex of wind to knock the attack off its course. The wyvern staggered back, snarling loudly. I used gravity magic to pin the wyvern down like I did to the Ice Queen. The ice wyvern struggled against my spell, its body jerking and its eyes flashing with fury. But I held firm, my concentration unwavering as I continued to manipulate gravity around us. With his attention diverted, Jasmine and Art struck from the sides, both of their weapons whistling through the air with the force of wind mana integrated into them. The wyvern's deafening scream echoed through the cavern, causing the very walls to tremble. Its eyes blazed with a fierce, icy fury as it unleashed a barrage of attacks. Ice tornadoes whipped around the room, sending shards of ice flying in all directions. Spikes of ice shot out from the ground, piercing the air and threatening to impale any who dared to come too close. "This guy is stronger than I expected," I said to my companions as we kept up our attacks, dodging and countering with lightning-fast strikes. "We have to take him out fast," Jasmine replied urgently as she landed a powerful blow on the wyvern's side. "Do you have any plan?" Art asked as he delivered a crushing blow to the creature's chest. "Yes," I replied as I drew upon my gravity magic once again and lifted the wyvern off the ground. "Sylvie, Jasmine, distract him," I said as I floated above them all. Without a second's hesitation, Sylvie and Jasmine charged towards the wyvern, keeping it occupied with a flurry of strikes and spells while Art charged forward with his sword glowing brightly with mana. With a quick thrust, he plunged his blade into the creature's chest and pierced its heart. The ice wyvern let out a final roar of fury and pain before collapsing to the ground lifelessly. The frigid wind howled through the cave as the ice wyvern let out a final roar, a mix of fury and pain, before succumbing to its wounds and collapsing to the frozen ground. Its massive form, now lifeless and devoid of the dangerous power it once possessed, lay motionless. A surge of triumph and relief washed over me as I glanced at my companions. "Great job, everyone," I exclaimed, my voice tinged with pride and admiration. The glimmer of victory reflected in their eyes, radiant and fierce. Sylvie nudged me with her nose, her scales cool against my skin. "We did it, Papa," she chirped, her voice filled with elation. A warm smile spread across my face as I reached out to ruffle Sylvie's scales fondly. "Yes, we did," I replied, my voice filled with love and reassurance. Jasmine grinned proudly. "Yeah, and we just took down an S-class beast," she said, her voice laced with satisfaction. "That's pretty impressive." I nodded, acknowledging her words, but my attention soon shifted to the fallen Ice Queen. Art pointed towards her lifeless body, his fingers steady and unwavering. "Let's not forget the Ice Queen over there." I gazed at the lifeless form of the once powerful Ice Queen. "Good point," I said, my voice filled with agreement and admiration. "Well, anyway, let's take the wyvern core," I proposed, my tone shifting into a more determined timbre. With a shared understanding, we set out to collect our spoils, carefully extracting the valuable wyvern core. The task was meticulous, requiring delicate precision to avoid damaging the precious resource. I entered the Adventurer's Hall of Xyrus, my footsteps echoing on the marble floor. The reception area was relatively quiet, with only a few adventurers scattered about, and the familiar face of Secretary Mary behind the counter. I made my way over to her, Sylvie trailing behind me, her tail swishing back and forth. As I approached the reception counter, Mary's eyes flickered with recognition, and her radiant smile widened. "Oh, hello again, Adventurer Noir," she greeted, her voice brimming with genuine delight. "How can I assist you today?" "I'm here to trade in some loot for money," I informed her, pulling a few backpacks out of my dimensional ring and setting them down on the counter. Mary smiled and took the bags, her nimble fingers quickly parsing through the items and assessing their value. "Excellent haul," she said, her eyes sparkling. "I can offer you a fair price for these." She counted out the amount and handed me the gold coins, which I expertly counted. Satisfied, I slid the coins into my dimensional ring and grinned at Mary. "Thank you, Mary," I acknowledged with a grateful nod. "It's always a pleasure conducting business with you." Preparing to depart, I was abruptly halted by Mary's gentle call. "Wait just a moment, Mr. Noir," she implored, her voice laced with an unexpected warmth. "The guild master would like to meet with you. He wishes to discuss something of utmost importance in utmost privacy." I nodded my assent nonetheless. "Very well," I acquiesced. "Could you kindly show me the way?" "Of course, right this way," Mary replied, a hint of deference in her voice. With a graceful bow, she motioned for me to follow, her flowing gesture guiding me down a dimly lit hallway. As I approached Caspian's office, Mary gracefully bowed and excused herself, leaving me to face the impending meeting alone. I straightened my shoulder armor and firmly rapped my knuckles against the polished wooden surface, causing a slight echo to reverberate in the spacious hallway. "Come in." Almost immediately, the velvety smooth voice of the guild master, Caspian, called out to me, inviting me to enter. I pushed the door open, revealing a room adorned with rich tapestries and shelves lined with ancient tomes. My gaze immediately gravitated towards Caspian, his commanding presence magnified by the ethereal glow of the magically enchanted crystals adorning his desk. He looked up from his meticulously organized paperwork with a genuine smile of recognition, his eyes shining with a mix of wisdom and curiosity. "Welcome, adventuring Noir," Caspian greeted, his voice dripping with warmth and hospitality. "Have you been faring well in your endeavors these past 6 months?" he inquired, gesturing towards the plush chair before me. Taking a seat, Sylvie jumped onto my lap, striking a pose like a cat. "It went well," I replied as I started patting Sylvie, glancing curiously at Caspian. "So what did you want to discuss?" Caspian's eyes sparkled with intrigue as he leaned back in his chair, his fingers expertly steepled on the edge of his desk. A playful smile curved his lips as he observed me. "Well, continuing our previous conversation," he began, his tone dripping with a hint of sarcasm, "it is quite extraordinary to come across someone your age with such a rare deviant talent for wielding the magical voice. Even I haven't been able to unlock the voice magic yet." "I've heard whispers of your exploits," Caspian continued, his voice filled with genuine admiration. "Among the many individuals sponsored by Jackson and his party, you have captivated my interest the most," he admitted, leaning back in his chair. "Tell me, Noir, why did you express reluctance in attaining a high rank?" "To be frank," I confessed, my voice earnest, "I wished to avoid attracting unnecessary attention and pressure. With high rank comes increased scrutiny, and I prefer to focus on my personal growth while evading prying eyes." Understanding flickered in Caspian's expression as he nodded in agreement. "I can respect that. However, given your remarkable strength, or at least the fraction of it that I have witnessed, I believe there could be mutual benefits for both of us," he offered, a hint of amusement tugging at the corners of his lips. A mischievous grin played upon my lips as I met his gaze head-on, my confidence now fully displayed. "I figured as much," I responded, my voice laced with a hint of audacity. "I presume you invited me here to propose a mutually beneficial arrangement. Perhaps a deal that involves exclusive access to dungeons?" Caspian's laughter filled the air, his amusement palpable. "Noir, you certainly possess a directness that is refreshing," he chuckled, leaning forward and resting his interlaced fingers upon the surface of his desk. "But you are correct. I do have a proposition in mind." My interest piqued. I leaned in, eager to hear the details of his offer. "Pray tell, what would this arrangement entail?" The guild master's eyes seemed to light up with rekindled enthusiasm as he considered his words carefully. "As the guild master, I possess a wealth of information and resources that could greatly facilitate your growth as an adventurer," he began, his gaze never wavering from mine. "I can provide you with exclusive quests and rare items that would be inaccessible to others." A sense of exhilaration surged through my veins, the immense potential of this collaboration finally sinking in. "And in return?" I prompted, my curiosity consuming me. Caspian's expression turned shrewd, a glint of cunning in his eyes. "I will require your assistance on certain missions," he admitted, his voice laced with a mix of challenge and intrigue. "These missions will be more perilous and challenging than the average quest, but the rewards will be commensurate with the risk." "What will these missions be?" I leaned forward interested. Caspian leaned back in his chair, his silver-rimmed spectacles glinted in the light as he steepled his fingers together thoughtfully. "You may have heard of the recent activity in the nearby dungeon," Caspian began, his voice calm but tinged with concern. "We've received reports of increased monster attacks and strange occurrences." I raised an eyebrow, intrigued by his choice of words. "Yes, I've heard a few rumors," I replied cautiously, not wanting to reveal too much of my own knowledge or curiosity. Caspian nodded, his face showing a mixture of determination and concern. "Well, unfortunately, we don't have much information at the moment. That's why I was thinking about creating special parties of high-ranking adventurers," he explained, leaning forward slightly as if to emphasize the gravity of the situation. Well, let's just say you're one of the most intriguing adventurers we've had around here in a long time. I want you to investigate this phenomenon. I know you prefer to work alone or with people you trust. You can bring whoever you like on this mission." I leaned back in my own chair, contemplating his proposal. The allure of conquering a new dungeon, facing formidable beasts, and the prospect of obtaining valuable beast cores to aid my father and twin horns in their training was undeniably enticing. However, a sudden realization dawned upon me, fueling my excitement further. Unable to contain myself, I straightened up in my seat, an air of enthusiasm emanating from every pore. Mr. Caspian, it is indeed a tempting offer. Before I accept, I have one condition, I declared, my voice steady and eyes shining with earnestness. The guild master's eyes widened slightly, his gaze sharpening as he leaned in closer, his attention fully focused on my words. Please, Noir, do share your condition. I am willing to accommodate your needs. With a surge of determination, I set forth my request, my words brimming with purpose. Jackson had expressed aspirations for establishing a school to nurture young adventurers, as you may know, I began, watching closely for any signs of apprehension on Caspian's face. In order to support this endeavor, we will require resources, a dedicated place for the students to hone their combat skills, experienced adventurers who can impart their knowledge, and, if possible, a means to acquire beast cores for training purposes. Caspian's countenance shifted for a moment as he considered my proposition, his brow furrowing. A flicker of doubt danced across his features, but then a smile slowly unfurled on his lips, his eyes lighting up. I believe you have presented an excellent suggestion, he concurred, his voice filled with admiration. Not only will this aid us in fostering the next generation of adventurers, but it will also strengthen our own guild. Consider it done. A feeling of relief and gratitude washed over me, visible beneath my concealed expression. Thank you, Mr. Caspian, I expressed sincerely, my voice laced with genuine appreciation. It is my pleasure. Guiding and supporting the next generation is a duty we seasoned adventurers hold dear, Caspian acknowledged warmly, his eyes glinting with a mix of wisdom and passion. Simply inform me when and where I should send the adventurers, and it shall be done. Nodding firmly, my gratitude spilling over, I conveyed my thanks once more. I will do exactly that, I affirmed, a surge of excitement coursing through my veins as I realized the impact of our partnership. We have arrived, sir, the driver said, his voice muffled by the sound of the horse's hooves and the rumbling carriage. As the carriage came to a stop in front of the Grand Helsta house, I glanced out the window, taking in the sight of the imposing mansion. Thank you, I said, my voice filled with anticipation and a profound sense of gratitude. The seasoned driver nodded, before expertly guiding the horses away towards the stable. I took a moment to compose myself and began making my way toward the grand entrance of the palace. Lost in a whirlwind of emotions and thoughts, I barely noticed the commotion around me until suddenly, I felt an unexpected force collide with my back, causing me to stagger. I turned, momentarily disoriented, only to find myself instantly enveloped in a tight, eagerly warm embrace. Welcome back, big brother, my younger sister exclaimed, her voice filled with uncontainable joy and boundless affection. Her arms, small and delicate, wrapped around my legs like vines, holding me close. Looking down, I met her sparkling eyes, mirrors of my own, and felt an overwhelming surge of love and protectiveness welling up within me. With her grayish-brown locks tumbling down in soft waves, framing her cherub-like face, and a blue dress that matched the sky, she truly looked like a radiant angel. A tender smile tugged at my lips as I crouched down to her level, basking in the warmth of her presence, and tenderly kissed her forehead. Her tiny frame vibrated with an energy that only a child's innocent excitement could possess. I'm back, I whispered, my voice laden with affection and warmth. I gathered her up in my arms, feeling the delicate weight of her against my chest, cherishing the familiar scent of home that clung to her. Once again, I was struck by how much she had grown since I had last seen her, her gentle breaths and the rhythmic beat of her heart lulling me into a realm of pure serenity. Before I could utter another word, a pair of familiar arms encircled me, and I turned to see my mother, her face illuminated with a mixture of overwhelming joy and undeniable relief. Tears streamed down her cheeks, mingling with the contented smile that graced her lips, as she held me tightly, as if afraid to let go. In her embrace, I felt the weight of her longing. Rimuru, she called out, her voice filled with a mixture of happiness and sorrow. Her tears dampened the fabric of my shirt, marking a reunion long overdue. It's good to see you again, mother, I murmured, my voice imbued with a mixture of gratitude and affection. I've missed you so much, she confessed, the words catching in her throat. I've missed you too, mother, I whispered, the tightness in my chest slowly dissipating with every word. I looked beyond her to see my Aunt Tabitha and Lily standing nearby, their faces radiating an unbridled mixture of excitement and immense love. They eagerly awaited their turn to embrace me, their eyes brimming with unspoken stories and anticipation. And when I turned around, my eyes met those captivating twin red orbs of Seal, standing off to the side, dressed in casual yet understated clothes that amplified her ethereal beauty. My breath caught in my throat as I took in her appearance, mesmerized by her grace and elegance. Her silver hair cascaded down her shoulders in soft waves, catching the glistening sunlight as if woven from strands of stardust. She wore a white cotton blouse with delicate ruffles on the sleeves and collar, a picture of effortless charm. Her slim legs were hugged by gray jeans that hinted at her gracefulness, while her practical yet stylish shoes boasted pink laces and sturdy soles. Every detail of her ensemble seemed carefully chosen to exemplify her natural beauty and authenticity. "Welcome back, Master," Seal said, her voice a melodious whisper. She offered a brief but respectful bow, her eyes brimming with genuine happiness. "It's good to see you too, Seal," I replied, my heart fluttering in my chest at the sight of her. Unable to resist teasing her, a playful smile curved my lips as I gently chided, "But didn't I tell you to call me by my name, Seal?" Her cheeks flushed with a faint pink hue and her voice trembled slightly as she responded, "Yes, our Rimuru-sama. My apologies." Chuckling softly, I felt a hint of color rise to my own cheeks. "No need to apologize, Seal. You can call me Rimuru." Ciel's smile widened, a subtle sparkle illuminating her eyes. It was a small victory, but seeing her pleased brought me immeasurable joy. Yet, as I glanced at my mother and Aunt Tabitha, mischief danced in their eyes, an unspoken secret shared between them. "Rimuru, what do you think of Ciel's clothes? Don't they suit her?" my mother asked with a knowing grin, her voice laced with playful amusement. Aunt Tabitha stepped forward, placing her hands gently on Ciel's slender shoulder, her own eyes sparkling with mischief. "Yes, she looks quite lovely, doesn't she?" Caught off guard, a faint blush crept up my cheeks as their playful teasing enveloped the air. "They do. She looks very nice," I stammered, my words accompanied by a mix of embarrassment and unabashed affection. This was the first time I had seen Ciel dressed in anything other than clothes similar to mine or a maid's outfit. Ciel's cheeks flushed a deeper shade of pink, and she cast her gaze downwards, her voice barely above a whisper, "Thank you." My mother and Aunt Tabitha's smiles widened, their gestures a silent celebration of the unspoken bond between Ciel and me. Sylvie let out a mischievous giggle through our mental connection. "He, Papa and Mama Ciel are flirting." "Oh, Sylvie, don't start with that," I chuckled, unable to contain my amusement. Ciel, still blushing, cast a quick glance towards Sylvie, a mix of shyness and amusement in her eyes. "Sylvie, you're embarrassing us." Sylvie, undeterred by Ciel's comment, continued to revel in the moment. "But it's true. You two are so cute together." Unable to deny the truth in Sylvie's words, I couldn't help but smile at her innocent observation. She had a way of lightening the mood, even in the most teasing moments. Sylvie jumped over my head to Ellie, who caught her and hugged her tightly in response. "Well then, shall we have lunch?" my mother suggested, her eyes glinting mischievously as she redirected the conversation. Relieved to change the subject and escape the playful teasing, I nodded eagerly. "That would be great, Mother." Lily, who had been observing the exchange with a hint of confusion, chimed in with curiosity, "Sama. What does that mean, Ciel?" Ciel's professionalism kicked in as she replied, "It's used to show great respect to individuals who are older or higher ranking than you. I came across it in a book I was reading." Understanding dawned on Lily's face, her confusion giving way to acceptance. "Oh, I see," she said, seemingly satisfied with the explanation.